when it first was mooted, people were telling you that you know, there was nothing you could do about it. It was a done deal, and you've shown that actually, if you stand up and fight, you can actually make a difference. That's really fantastic. We'll take a few more contributions from the floor. Graeme, and then Charles, you had your hand up earlier, and Charlie from Connections, and then we'll try and get some more contributions in brought in the meeting as well.
Graeme Horne, I'm the Joint Branch Secretary for the local government branch of Unison in the city. I just wanted to say something about Charles House, actually. And it's a really important struggle, because what this council is doing is it is cutting the very services that are needed by the people who are in the greatest need in this city. Interestingly, with Charles House is one of 5 children's homes that are threatened in this city. Last week, we had the head of HR for children, young people and families reassuring us that the announcement that was made by the lead manager for children's services of the closure of these 5 homes was a mistake, that they have no intentions at the moment to close those 5 homes. They are consulting about cutting £6.5 million out of the services for children who are disabled and children who are in need. And it was a mistake, the announcement. The mistake is they've let the cat out of the bag. Yes, exactly. They are clearly very, very worried about the Child House campaign. Yeah. They are very worried about the Connections campaign. They are very worried about the campaign to save the Shellforce workplace for the disabled adults. They're extremely worried about that. And they're worried about that because we are starting to fight back. Telling the public what is going on, you know, in this room, right, the votes that are happening in this room. And I tell you, you've read in the papers recently the report from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission about home care. That's about private home care providers. What is the city doing? It's cutting 1/3 of its city council employed home care staff, of its quality home care staff. That's what they're doing. They're cutting the best of the home care out of the city. We also read about unemployment for young people reaching over 20% and higher than that in the city. What are they doing? They're cutting out over 1/2 of what's left of our Connection service that provides advice for young people leaving schools. That's what they're doing. We also read in the papers about how difficult it is to find adoption and fostering placements for young babies nationally. So what are the council doing? They're cutting the adoption and fostering support services in this city, and we need to shine a light on all that.
They're only streamlining it.
Oh yeah, and you read their stuff, and it's a bloody con, isn't it? They're presenting it as if they're improving these services. But I just want to say about the strike on Wednesday. The people that we're meeting in our workplaces are behind this strike, much more than we had expected them to be so. And I don't think it's just about pensions. We're also striking in Birmingham about the Birmingham contract and the cuts in wages for our members. But we're also fighting to save our services. You know, and I've worked in healthcare and social care in the city for 32 years. And I tell you, you don't go to work in the public services for the money. 3/4 of our members earn less than £20,000 a year. Half of them earn less than £16,000 a year. And they're having thousands of pounds cut from that salary. Right? You also don't work in public services for the pension. Important that it is, and we don't want it any worse, but in local government, the average pension is less than £4,000 a year. For women, it's a lot less than £4,000 a year. You don't work in public sector because you've got a good employer. You work in the public sector because you care about public services.
Yeah.
Because you do that. And what we want is public sector workers and private sector workers and our community and our service users to care as much about our public services as we do and to be prepared to fight for them.
Reagan, working North and Labour Party and an activist in Birmingham against the cuts. The mess we're in today, the situation this disgusting government has dragged us into, was predictable, but it was written down before. Anyone who's read the shock doctrine, like Naomi Klein, or through a moment of boredom on a Sunday afternoon, who's looked on the internet and trawled through the lunatic ramblings of groups like the right-wing Libertarian Alliance, could see it's all written down there. It was all down there for years before it happened. Disaster capitalism, ideological fixation, free markets which enrich the rich and make the poor poorer. When this lot got into power, some people were naive enough 18 months ago to think that the Lib Dems might prefer moderating influence and Tories. I haven't seen moderating influence, I don't know if they have. It must be some sort of mirage. Since this lot have got into power, the rate of suicide has gone up. In the Midlands alone, 2 terrible incidents happened in the last year. There was a mother who killed her 2 children in Shepshed because she was worried about her job and the future of her son's health. What right was it then? Closer to home in Coventry, we had the couple who killed themselves in a suicide pact because they had no money and no food and they could see no future. And due to the cuts, they were passed from pillar to post and given nothing. Lives being lost by what this disgusting government is doing, who don't care about it. They talked to us about, as Mary mentioned earlier, about the private sector stepping in to fill in the gaps, to take over the workers, which the public sector is shedding. It's a load of nonsense, as we can see already. We can look at where their actions lead to, and actions always speak louder than words. When we look at 60 miles east at Derby, and we see what they did with Bombardier, where we have a Mr. Queen, who is the managing director of 3i, the investment capital company, who happens to be one of Cameron's leading backers, and 3i just happens to be backing the Siemens bid. The procurement was hopeless for that. They didn't take into account costs and benefits, and they have refused the freedom of information request as to what happened during the bidding process. Because Cameron and the others have something to hide, and they don't want us to know about it. We've had the media spin. I was proud to go on the rally in Derby that day to march along with Bombardier workers and the people of Derby. But apart from the Morning Star giving it proper coverage, it wasn't covered in the media elsewhere. The right-wing media just ignored it completely. I'm going to finish now and just say this. This is the fight we're engaged in. It's a fight for our lives and our futures. And we must stand up and fight and take them down.
I now ask Charlie Friel to speak. Charlie's the convener for Unison Connections members, fighting a very important fight at the moment against the attack on that service. Charlie.
It's absolutely great and magnificent that so many other speakers have mentioned pensions and have mentioned the attacks and all these services to young people. Doesn't matter whether it's Charles House, doesn't matter whether it's cuts in the youth services or cuts in pensions, okay, because it's a systematic attack and all things young people. You know, we call it from the cradle to the door queue, because it's children's homes, it's classroom assistants, it's cuts in FEP, it's EMA, it's connections, and it's tuition fees. Okay, if you're young, they don't give a stuff about you. They think you're either too young to vote or too apathetic to vote once you reach the age of 18. So everyone here that's talking about it, okay, has to be the voices of those young people that don't have a voice. A lot of people mention the unemployment in the city. You know, unemployment in the city is 25.8%. Okay. No other big city in England comes close to it. Manchester's got less, Bristol, Leeds, Sheffield, Newcastle have all got less. And to cut, you know, jobs in an organisation, okay, whose sole purpose is to keep young people off the dole queue, off the street, and to help them into employment and into college and university, is absolute madness and short-sightedness. Okay, we are in the process of cleansing our membership to ballot for another strike. Okay, we don't have any alternative. Okay, at the start of this year, there was over 250 people working for Connections in the city. That's 250 people dedicated to helping the young people of the city leave school and get into college, work, or education. By the beginning of next year, that will reduce to about 70. Not only that, they closed 3 of our offices last year. They closed Everton, Handsworth and Aston. Okay? Everton has a piecemeal outreach service, but Handsworth has absolutely nothing and Aston is nothing. They are 2 of the highest areas of unemployment in the country. Okay? Birmingham has the unfortunate tag of having 4 out of 5 the unemployment black spot in England. 4 out of 5. And funnily enough, one's Everton, where they shut the Connections office. One's Reagan, for Handsworth has no Connection service. And I'll tell you what the other 2 are. One is Friel, which never had a Connection service, and the other is Friel. Friel has a Connection service. It's me, 1 afternoon a week, 3.5 hours. Okay? Friel, one of the highest paid employers in the country, has me for 3.5 hours on a Wednesday afternoon. Okay? If you come up after 4 o'clock in the front, you need to wait a week. And I'll tell you what, they won't be there next week because of the AIM strike. What I will do next Wednesday, not only because of the strike, because it's St Andrew's Day. I'm trying to think of a better way of celebrating my Patient Saints Day than going on strike to protect my pension, to protect my service, to protect the jobs and the services for the young people of the city.